listen to your club. Introduce your group member first.
Good morning to Mr. Bawasing and my fellow friends. My name is David Hui and my members are Chiu Yu, Tan Jia Hong and Gan Chun Yong. So today we are going to talk about a case study of Singapore transferring their HQ to Dyson transferring the HQ to Singapore. Okay, so the first one I'm going to talk about is the differences in industrial relation. The first one is a trade union. In United Kingdom, their union size is 6.5 million members, and Singapore is 762k members. Actually, to be honest, for the size of United Kingdom, since their population is around 66 million and Singapore is around 7 million, the union size is not much of a difference between both of them. Therefore, the union density for Singapore is 20% and the union density for United Kingdom is 24.7%. So, for the organized ways, the trade union in UK are organized in many ways. One of the ways are occupational, organizing teachers or radiographers, and the other one are some are organized in a single company, for example, in the banking and finance sector. However, many members belong to general unions which have been formed through trade union mergers. For Singapore, trade unions are organized in tripartism. Tripartism is in an increasingly competitive environment. Management and union must work together to overcome challenges, resolve differences, and build a strong labor management relationship. This is a key factor towards building a harmonious workplace, strengthen tripartite collaboration, and enhance Singapore's economic competitiveness and social progress for the benefit of both employers and workers. Now, for the management, for United Kingdom, there are no generalized and permanent system of work councils, and there are no statutory right to employee representation at board level. For Singapore, they are management, how they manage their trade union are by generalized system and limited representation at board level. So, for Singapore, the majority of whose membership consists of employees in non-executive positions which has been accorded recognition by an employer may represent any executive employee individually for any of the following issues, such as to make representation for an appeal against unfair dismissal and to negotiate with the employer with a view to resolve any dispute relating to the payment of retrenchment benefit. So the second point I would like to talk is collective bargaining. For United Kingdom, collective bargaining takes place in a company level and establishment level. So for the company level, only 23% of UK workers are covered. The establishment level mainly takes place here. Therefore, trade unions are main representative channel in UK workplaces. They must be recognized for bargaining purpose by the employer. For the agreement, United Kingdom is not legally binding, and for Singapore is well defined by laws. Where this part I'll let Jia Hong talk about it later. And then for the number of workers in United Kingdom, there are 33% of UK workers are covered, and therefore Singapore are mostly. For management, United Kingdom are managed by trade union and Singapore by government. Thank you, and I'd like to pass my turn to you.
Alright, so good morning everyone. So now I'm going to show you about the difference of the culture between these two countries, Singapore and UK. So this blue color is Singapore and purple is UK. So in this chart, you can see that Singaporean is more high power distant compared to UK. And next, the UK people is more individualism, and the Singaporean is more very low in individualism, so they are more on collectivism. Okay, so let's talk about the power distance first. So as I mentioned, the UK people is is low power distance. So the organizational structure of UK is a pyramid that consists of many level and strong vertical hierarchy. Yeah. So that's why they are more friendly in their workplace. I mean they more like friendly to their superior or manager. In UK company, the seniority are often determining factor. So if you want to be succeed, you have to follow the hierarchy. So if you more close to your superior, then you will a little bit more easy to succeed. Like that. Yeah. However, the communication between the subordinate and the manager or superior is quite informal. But in the end, the subordinate is also will obey the boss rules. So on the other hand, Singaporean has higher power distance, which means there is a clear structure of authority and social status is defined by their position in society and workplace. So people at the lower level will respect to the higher authorities. So for the junior in Singapore, they usually not simply to question or argue with their superior because this will like damage their career maybe. Besides that, using the surname or title while addressing is also very important, like in any other Asian country like us. So their power is more centralized, and the manager usually rely on their boss and rules. So their employee is more expected to be told on what they need to do. So they are not like will do it themselves. They will just follow the rules. So next, the UK people are individualism. They are high individualistic and private people. So they only think about themselves and find out what the unique purpose in their life and also how to contribute to the society. So they think that the path to the happiness is through their personal accomplishment. For example, like maybe buy a luxury cars or house or maybe achieve their self-esteem like that. So in the past decade, the wealth of UK people is actually increased and they are spread to the north. So this phenomenon is generally discussed as rise of the enhancement of high culture. So last but not least, we all know the Singaporean is collectivism. That means they are very low in individualism. They using we instead of I more. So they learn to restrain themselves and overcome their individuality in order to maintain the family harmony. So in this case, they treat the company like their family usually. So the harmony is found when everybody saves their face in a sense of dignity, self-respect, or the prestige. So the social relations should be conducted in such a way that everybody face is safe. That's why paying respect to someone is called saving face. So next I'll pass to Anjamo.
Okay.
Thank you.
So Dyson is moving their headquarters into Singapore. So there are some laws and practices in Singapore that the Dyson needs to be aware. So for the first, there's a practice in Singapore that every employer and employees should have a contract between them. So the Employment Act are basically about there are the minimum terms to protect the employees in Singapore, even those expatriate in Singapore. So the Act categorized the workers into two parts, which are those earning more than 2,000 Singapore dollars and those are earning less than 2,000 Singapore dollars. So those are who earn less than 2,000 Singapore dollars will be covered and extra protections such as rest day, working hours, overtime, public holidays, retirement benefits, and other payments. So for the Employment Act, it covers for the working hours, such as those who earn more, they should also work more, like until 50 hours, which those who earn less, they work and capacity and of 44 hours. And for working days, it's also have some slightly different of 1 day. And these are some basically covered by the Employment Act, which Singapore government actually practices. So for the working pass that Dyson actually need to be aware of, there are many kinds of working permit and employment pass that they need to differentiate very well. Because for Dyson, they actually expect to recruit some employees in Singapore, and also they have to relocate the CFO and the CLO from UK to Singapore. So they need different kind of working permit for them. For those who those who live in Singapore, those Singaporeans who they recruit locally, they already covered by the Employment Act. And for those who need to relocate from UK to Singapore, they need this employment pass. There are employment pass, entry pass, personalized employment pass, and miscellaneous working pass. So for the CFO and the CLO, most they need is the employment pass. The employment pass is for the top management and level earning at least 3,000 a month. That's what they need, because there are those skilled labor and top management, the role of the company. So I would like to touch more about the employment pass. Is that if you earn more than 5,000, according to this employment pass, you are eligible to bring your children and your spouse into Singapore. And if you earn more than 10,000, you can also bring along your parents into Singapore. Yes, that's all. So I'll pass it to Yan Chun Yung.
Thank you. And now I'm going to talk about the difference between Dyson HQ and Singapore, the recruitment and selection. First of all, let me briefly explain about the recruitment selection in the Dyson HQ. Dyson HQ is using an unconventional recruitment process, which they don't follow the traditional interview method, which they interview candidates based on their proposal, resume, and letters. Instead of that, Dyson are using a method which they organize events in their college, university to actually attract talents that they're looking for. Then in that event, they select out their candidate they want and offer them a job. For the selection, they not only don't rely on interview, they also have a unique selection method, which they actually choose their candidate based on how interested they are toward their job. And as for the recruitment selection in Singapore actually is a very traditional and Asian ways in recruitment and selection. They recruit their talents and employees based on job application, interview, and resume. But due to the aging population and the lack of talent in Singapore, because of the advance in Singapore tend to recruit talent outside of their country. Besides that, the way Singapore selects their talents and employers are based on their reference checks, their education background, how well they perform their job performance in their previous company, and so on. Therefore, the similarity between the Dyson HQ and Singapore is they tend to recruit talent outside of their country, first of all. And the second is they recruit based on their reputation. Because in Dyson HQ, they're using their reputation and their name to organize an event in the university to recruit their candidate they want is basically on their reputation. While in Singapore, if they want to recruit someone that is outside in Singapore, they have to have a good reputation for that. As for their differentiation, HQ in Dyson is using event recruitment method, which they organize events to attract the talent, while Singapore is using the traditional interview method, which are looking at their resume, and HQ doesn't rely on interview to choose their candidate, while Singapore is heavily rely on seeing their interview, and HQ selects their candidate based on how passionate about their work, to know their work and how they want to improve themselves in the future, while Singapore choosing their candidate based on how good their background is, how high their education is, how good and how well behaved in their previous company is. And in conclusion, Dyson have a more open style of recruitment method, and Singapore has a more traditional recruitment selection. That's all for our presentation.
Thank you.